Good evening. Welcome to another session of a conversation with a gentle warrior. So far, since I set up Caregiver Saathi, I have encountered a large number of people, and very often they have been surprised as to what does Caregiver Saathi really do and who is a caregiver. And I have met some lovely people along the way. And one of them is Dr. Tanvi, who is here with us today. And we had multiple conversations about what is Caregiver Saathi and how this is probably relevant for our times and how we can work together professionally. And somewhere along the way, we also, as would have been obvious, but we discovered how she is one gentle warrior herself. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bhavana. Good evening.
And a very good evening to everyone. Um, while I said welcome to the show, this is really a conversation between two friends. One of my vision and hope for all of us is that not only do we see ourselves as caregivers, of course, we see ourselves as loved ones, as daughters, as in the roles that we are in, as daughters, sons, husbands, wives who look after each other. But we are also able to see the fact that we are caregivers. So we were just having this conversation. Tanvi, when did you first see yourself as a caregiver?
That's what I was actually trying to say that back then. So this was my caregiving journey actually started with my mom falling sick. My mom was suffering from multiple sclerosis, and I was back then maybe ninth or 10th standard, and so that's probably somewhere around 2001 or 2002. So it's been so from there. And as I said, I did not know that okay, there's something called as caregiver, or this is something which is actually something, as you said, we a role that I need to play. It was just that it fell upon me, and yeah, so I had to take that up. And so post that, I think till date, I've been a caregiver, like then my granny for some time, because she was old, but then she also had a lot of issues with incontinence, and I actually used to bathe her, you know and of course my father also now, who's a diabetic but has multiple health issues that come along with that. So because he's alone out there, so I am like the primary caregiver for him. But yeah, the journey started with my mom falling sick. Yeah.
That's quite a young caregiver. Very often, when I talk to somebody and we speak about caregivers, yeah, first of all, people don't think about the family members as caregivers. Very often, we think about that person that we hire,
Yeah.
that attendant as caregivers. Secondly, if a typical caregiver would of course be a woman and would of course be someone in a certain age bracket. We don't see children as caregivers, so obviously that has a whole new perspective that you can probably bring to us and to many people who will watch this. Because we believe that one of the reasons we run this conversation is that by hearing your story, it will be inspiring and powerful for many others who will listen to you. And we are very grateful for you to do that.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. Um, yeah, so actually, I think it's 19, 20 years in back. In the time, even to get a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis was a very challenging, aspect then. So I remember, I mean, I was too young, but my mom used to work in a bank, and it all started with some one fine day she was coming back from work, and she was in this bus, and somebody stamped on her foot by mistake, of course. And since then, her problem started. So her that toe started paining, then the ankle, and then the foot, and so on. And as you know, being a woman, and you know that caregiver role for your husband, children, in-laws, everybody, she was just ignoring that, and she's like, oh, it'll go away, it's just a stamp, it'll go away, it'll go away. And then it did not. And because this was this pain in her foot and everything, I remember like vaguely that we're taking her to general physicians, orthopedics, and you know, physiotherapists and everybody. But it did not even strike us that you know, this could be something like a neurological problem. And generally at that time, nobody really also told us, or maybe the issue is like, you know, those diagnostic tests were not as advanced as they are today, and so we were not referred. And after but the problem was there. She was having issues walking. She was her movements were getting restricted. And the challenge with this, especially with multiple sclerosis, is something like it has a range of I don't know, presentations. So it could be something like a little issue, some small issues that go for a long time, and or it has very severe issues. Unfortunately, with my mother, it was severe. And not only did she have a loss of movement which was progressing, unfortunately she had like this excruciating pain along with that. So that was really, you know, shocking to me, like, you know, and I didn't know how to handle that. um because my mom is was like the one of the strongest women. She used to like, she was like no nonsense person, you know. And I hadn't seen her really cry even once till that time when she was in that pain. And I was like, oh my god, what's happening? And I had absolutely no clue what to do. But at the same time, I realized I had to be strong. um, and that was just happening because it was not just to give her the care, because she was not really understanding what was happening with her. And at that time, even I wasn't understanding what's happening. But you know what also happened with me was like, I was a bio student and I aspired to become a doctor. So everybody was like, oh, no, 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 you understand this better, you understand this better, you stay with her, you stay with her, you stay with her. And used to think that fine, I want to become a doctor, but I'm not like a full-fledged doctor yet. So I'm not a medical person. I'm just like a 11, 12 biology kind of a thing. And don't, she's also my mother. And you know, I was like a favorite kind of thing amongst my me and my sister. And I was like, we were closest. And like, she's also my mother. How do you possibly are asking me to really sit with her and um, watch her pain? And you know, but I didn't have a choice, and I had to do that. And also along with that, then had to even pacify her, because that poor thing. So multiple sclerosis actually is a degenerative disease. It actually affects the myelin sheaths of your nerves. And so I used to read in biology, when in the nervous system, you know, that this is non-reversible. You know, it is only progressive, you can't reverse it, you can probably just stop, you know, slow down the progress and all. And I remember she used to telling me what's happening to me. Will this ever stop? And I was like, you know, being her mom and trying to tell her that, okay, no, 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 you know, it'll get better. It's not that it's not reversible. You take your medicines, it'll come back. The you know, the nerves will grow back and everything. And in my head, I knew that it's not gonna happen. So that was like a battle between, you know, how much should I even tell her, how much should I even should give away honestly or truthfully. So I knew a lot of things which I could not tell my mother, and she was the one person I used to tell everything. So yeah, that was a little difficult at that time to manage that thing, especially mentally.
I can imagine it must have been a very, very quite a bit of a emotional roller coaster. So tell me about what was in the family. Your sister is elder to you, or younger than you?
My sister is elder to me, uh, but she's a little. I mean, she's a little sweeter, and she like not that strong. I'd say like
Okay.
and yeah, that way.
Mm. So you were the caregiver, and you were also the supposedly professional, going to be professional.
Going to be professional, yeah.
Yeah, that can be an incredible amount of stress
It is.
that sometimes people around you put on children. I think sometimes like people don't recognize when they tell children you have to be strong and you have to take care of your parents a little too early. I relate with that for myself personally, uh, but be that as it may. Uh, Tell us about some incident that you remember that you may have experienced a range of emotions that now you look back on. Some incident that stands out for you.
Um, so yeah, so it is this one incident which I mean, till now remember, and till now that's when that one thing that really hit me actually. So again, this was in my 10th standard, and my mom, as I said, used to work in a bank, and every morning she used to get ready, drape a nice, beautiful sari, and properly draped and get ready and go and everything. And she used to also drape sari to my sister and other cousins. She was very good with that. And I always used to think, when my and at that time, when did you wear saris? You used to wear it either in some weddings, and most typically, most memorably on your farewell day, like your boards, coming closer, and your 10th standard farewell, and everybody is excited, and all of us are gonna wear saris. And that was the first time where I wanted my mom to drape me that sari in in the in her style and in her way. And that was on that day she could not actually get up, and she's finding very weak, her lower legs were weak, and so she could not stand, and she was not able to drape uh, that sari. And I till date was so sad and so frustrated, because then I had to manage. My dad stepped in and never done that, but trying to pacify me, and I somehow managed to drape it and go. But then I was expecting that my mom would do it just as she did for my sister and others, and but it didn't happen. And that's when it actually hit me that, oh, this is probably going to be like for a longer time, and there are a lot of things that I'm gonna miss on henceforth. And that's where that it really hit me that, okay, this is something very bad that's gonna come from now. That's one incident that I remember from where it all started for me, like emotionally, like that it's gonna bad's gonna happen for a long time now. So that's where it started actually.
The way that I hear you, it is that perhaps it was that first moment of loss, a sense of
Yeah.
loss. Yeah.
Probably yes. That's how it is. It's like the first time, and I thought that, okay, this is gonna. I mean, I'm gonna this moment when my mom would drape me a sari as beautiful as she probably did for the others is not gonna come in my life, and that's somewhere that it really hit me. Yeah.
I know it can be a very, it's a very poignant memory, and I'm grateful to you for having shared it with us. Would you like to get yourself a glass of water?
I thank you. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I would have held your hand if we were sitting in the same room. So, virtually. Um, what are some of the cherished memories? Something that you look back on with a sense of smile?
Some things, I mean, not memories per se, but little things which, for some time at least, were there till things got really worse. For a couple of birthdays, where so my mom was an excellent cook.
Mm.
So I remember, my birthdays when I used to tell her, like, it's okay, let's not celebrate. Or man, I'll go somewhere, I will not invite my friends. And she used to insist that, no, 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 let's do it. And she used to, cook up a meal, but she used to start very early because it was like a Herculean task for my mom to. She used to actually not even crawl, like sit on her hips and push herself in from the bedroom to the kitchen, and then I used to like pull her up and put her into a wheelchair, and then she used to cook for me. Um, but yeah, so her food was something I still miss and still cherish, and that's something in those sweet little birthday parties and the small ones that we used to have. That those were great. But it was really difficult for her to actually do that. But she really was so determined that, no, 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 I'll have to do it for you. So those are some nice memories that are there.
Yeah. So, if you were to go through those years, and then was your choice to be a doctor linked somehow to this, or what was the career decision about?
No, as a matter of fact, and I haven't really actually said this out loud ever. But as a matter of fact, I think I'm no more practicing, and it's not, and it's a hush hush secret. I tell everybody that I'm a dentist actually, but and I tell people that it's too much investment, and there's no scope. There are a lot of dentists. Though I say all of that, and those were the reasons. But one of the reasons, I lost my mom when I was in third year of my dentistry, my college, and honestly, after that, I think within a month or something, I sat my dad down and I told him that I don't want to do this. I don't want to continue with my dentistry. He was like taken aback and he was like, "What are you talking? This is like something that you really wanted to do." And it was not because of my mom felt sick. It was for a long time. Like when I was pretty young in school, I was fascinated by being a doctor and I wanted, and he was like taken aback and he was like, why? What would happen? And I was like, no, no, I'm not interested. I don't think there's a scope, this and that. And he was like, but thankfully, he told me that, continue, finish it, and then you do whatever you want to. I'll not stop you. But at least, get this through. But in my mind, there was one thing that was like, what's the point? I mean, if I could not help somebody, that shows. And honestly, after that, all of those years, I wasn't sure that I would be able to actually, keep doing this for people and see them actually suffer day in and day out. And, the fact that I kind of moved out a little, I'm still connected to my field, I'm still into healthcare, but not directly patient care. I moved out of that was because of, I think, all of this. So it was ulta for me, not like, I mean, I know a lot of people are motivated to make a change after something like this happens to them. It just became like a 360-degree for me, and I like, what's the whole point? And so that's a little ulta thing that happened with me.
The way that I see it, I think it's, every journey has a reason. And the fact that I don't know what is ulta or what is seedha. So,
True. Yeah.
you need all kinds of people at the point of intersection, right? So it is so wonderful to, for example, interact with you in your current role, because, you come with this very interesting background and you have this very, you know, poignant life experience. and you have the education, but
Yeah.
and you're making a difference in a different way. So to my mind, I think so. Look at me making a backdoor entry into healthcare, right? Completely unqualified, and I didn't. I was very clear. My mother would have wanted me to be a doctor, and I was like, I can't see like this much of blood. So what are you saying? I can't even do the dissections in grade 11. So forget becoming a doctor. The point that I wanted to make was that when there is an illness in a family, it impacts everybody, and it impacts sometimes our career choices, and sometimes it impacts so many other things.
Yeah.
So when you look back, uh, what do you think in that journey for everybody, the things that were challenging and whatever happened? Um, how would you wish that some others would learn from your experience? And how would you wish that it would be different?
Yeah, so honestly, and I'll tell you this very honestly, when I joined that group of Caregiver Saathi and those small little snippets that used to come every day, and I still think, oh shit, this is something that I should have thought about then, when it was like, asking for help, or try not to do everything yourself. Take out some time for yourself, take a break, and it is okay to take a break. For me at that time, it was absolutely not okay to take a break, because I was like full time in that zone. I used to live in, I mean, I still live in Navi Mumbai. My college was in Bombay Central, so 2 hours up, 2 hours down. And I used to write my journals in, and actually draw those diagrams also in that moving train, because there was no time after coming back home. And I used to be frustrated that I could not stay back after college, have some fun with my friends or something else. I had to go back. And not once did I really tell anybody, my dad or my sister, that to listen, today I'll stay back, can you manage it
Yeah.
for one day, for another 2 hours, I'll just get to. I did not. And because that time I felt it was very wrong of me to actually be doing that, and actually asking help. And so I did not do all of that. And now I feel that that is something one should really take some time and ask for help, because that's really something which I did not do. I didn't know that I wanted to be this, like, oh, everybody was like, oh, you're so strong, oh, you're so strong. And I felt that, oh, that is an added responsibility on me, that
Correct.
I have to be strong, which is not the case. I mean, you don't have to be strong all the time. And I was saying that I mentioned that it was a long term impact on me, because I have a I got an anxiety issue. And this was it was building up, and way post 4 5 years after my mom and everything. But again, when I got married, during that initial time, I was very frustrated, very anxious, probably because I had left my dad and come, and I was only thinking about him. I was not thinking about anything else. And I had become this irritable person. I used to yell, in, like, I was a newlywed, and I used to yell at, and so that was. But I realized, and I did this after a very long time, that something's wrong with me. And I mean, when you're like, you need to explain somebody. I had to tell my husband, she, dude, you know me, I'm not like this. So, because otherwise it's, you're really directly behaviorally connected, that, oh, she's like that only, or she's, her personality is like that only. But fortunately, we were friends before even we thought of getting married or something. So I was like, okay, you know me, I'm not this kind of a person, there's definitely something wrong with me. So I need to take help, and it's not internal, it's not something within the family. I have to go out, I have to seek something professional. And that's when I went ahead, and um I feel that I should have done this a long time ago, but I thankfully did that. I went for counseling. I also when I used to go for counseling for 3 4 sessions, I used to only complain and not listen at all. So I think in my fifth session or something, the counselor told me, like, you please go to a psychiatrist, take some medication, and come back to me next week. And that's where after taking that medication for some time, I became a little more receptive of what the counselor is trying to tell me. And then try to really work on, and a lot of that anxiety, those issues, again the roots go back to those caregiving days, which that attention that probably I was looking for there, and I was still looking, searching for it, and so those anxiety issues from there. So it's still a little difficult for me to manage those fears and those anxieties, but now I manage. But then I think so. I think if you need to really go for it, then you should go for it, and should. Uh, there is still a stigma. I wouldn't say that it's not there, but if you feel that you get help, then get help inside the family or outside. Take a call, but ask for that help. That's something which I think I learned throughout the whole journey.
I think you make some very, very, very significant points. First of all, I think, just taking help, sometimes within the family and outside the family, or being able to say, I'm feeling vulnerable or I need professional help can be such a big step given the kind of taboo that we have around us, around some of these things. And the second, of course, even if you are taking counseling help, you can at best take counseling help, but, medication, oh my God, that's like another level.
Level, yeah.
Yeah. So you were obviously able to wean off that medication, right?
Yeah, so I think the medications that you get these days are not addictive.
Correct.
So I think gone are the days where those medications are based on addictive substances, but now the medications that you take are not at all addictive. It's not.
Right.
You don't even have to wean them off. You can stop them whenever
Right.
your psychiatrist, your doctor tells you. You can just stop them. That's absolutely not an issue. um where it helps is just that it calms your nerves down a
Yeah.
little. It just makes you a little more receptive to what somebody else is trying to explain you. At least for me that happened. And then in the subsequent sessions, I don't think I took the medications for a very long time. I think I took it for a month or two.
Right.
It just calmed me down. That core acute anxiety was there, that reduced. And from that complaining and talking more, so for an hour, if I used to be in the first few sessions 45 minutes, I used to go on, and every solution that the counselor was trying to give me, this will not work, this ye to nahi काम करेगा." But then later on, once I calmed down a little, I was like, okay, let me go and try this. At least we'll see if it works. At least that stage you come to. So yeah, it's they're not addictive. At least my experience was that. They really help you.
That's right. All the psychiatrists that we have for our webinars, and they come and talk to caregivers, they
Hmm.
speak about the fact that even for mental illnesses, medication is a very good first step to take to make the environment conducive for
Right.
taking the next step, right? So, and yes, it is not addictive, and it is good to take that help. I think it's also fine to have a venting experience, to have your, you know, expression of ranting against the world and
Yeah.
all of that. Uh, what about, stuff around the family? So, for example, this was your experience. What did you see was happening with people around you as it was, an intense illness in the home?
Uh, so yeah, so what? Honestly, it's I mean, it's nobody's fault, but yeah, once this thing happens, there are it happens that your immediate family members come close, they may just go apart also. It depends on how the chemistry, but the extended families, yes, they start to move a little farther apart because
Yeah,
they really cannot connect with you that much, and then
yeah,
you generally meet together for get-togethers and all of that. That starts reducing. So and then honestly, people think that, oh, you call this person and then probably she's only going to rant about her problems, and then that thing. I mean, that's the thing that you really want to do, but then people start not asking you about how it is, not checking on you, and then you have to be your one thing that I personally think I should have done, or even we should have done as a family, was that. So my sister went. She went off to another city after the everything happened for her work. I mean, she was already in the other city, and she went back to her workplace. With me and my dad, what happened is we never sat and talked about it, or expressed that grief, or said, oh god, we did so much. It was me and my dad mostly, and we did so much, but still, this happened. We did not. And what happened was we ended up fighting a lot for the first 6 months after we lost my mom. We were just fighting. That was the only expression of emotions that we had. That some trigger, and we used to yell at each other, hey, you did not do this, you did not do that.
yeah,
And then later on a little bit, when I realized, actually, then I think that that time had passed where then I could not go back. But again, as I said, after a long time, when I actually did this counseling and found that, oh, the roots for the issue go back there, and that's when I started little bit, not too much, but opening up to my dad, and at least bringing up mom in the conversation somewhere, that we remember her.
yeah,
Otherwise we did not sit and talk about her, and
yeah,
so that's something which we did not do, and I think that is something which people should do.
yeah.
So if you're grieving, I think that loss, you need to really talk about it within the family, so that you avoid a long term problem.
There's so many parts of your story that are just like mine, right? I mean, I was just thinking about the same thing about coming back from college and, not wanting to, feeling guilty about finding time for
Yeah,
myself or being with friends, because, there was a responsibility, and that responsibility kind of, I'm also reminded of my time when it was so important that everybody was, like, I think sometimes extended family and friends are going through their own trauma and their own helplessness,
yeah.
and they just don't know how to interact, and they just distance instead of coming closer, and it's hard. So I relate with it very, very personally as well. It's almost like I'm listening to myself. And after I lost my dad, it was so important to be contained and all collected,
Yeah.
um, that there was no time to grieve. And I do think that, like you beautifully said, it's important to just sit together and share some tears.
Yeah.
Uh, what would you like for us to know about your mom other than what you've told us? And how would you like for us to get to know her?
Okay. So my mom was very pretty to begin with, as I said, and she used to really drape beautiful sarees. So there were rare occasions where I usually, when there are parent teachers meetings, most of the time my dad used to come along. But when there were rare instances where my mother used to come, and I still remember, she used to come and she used to again properly be dressed and everything. And then she used to come, and even my friends were like, "Oh my God, she's your mom. Are you sure she's your mother?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, she's my mom." So that's one, really nice thing about her. The other thing, as I said, her food. I mean, I still rule on the, remembering her food, and that's one thing that I have taken from her, and I um so when for my kid, it's like even if I'm tired, I'm really, I have had a long day. I have this obsession of actually making food for my kid, because I have seen my mom doing that. She used to wake up at 4 a.m. and make everybody's dabba and go. In the evening, she used to get something from the office, and we were like, "Mummy, bag mein kya hai?" And she used to make something for us in the evening. It was sandwiches, it was boiled corn or whatever, some nice yummy snack items she used to cook, and then of course a lavish lunch. And Saturdays and Sundays were like full everything about food that is there. So yeah, and that's something which even I try to do, and that's something which I've taken from her, and it's an obsession for me that I have to make something different and try something different for my family. So that's something which I remember of her. It's her food. And it's still sort of salivating right now just thinking about that. But yeah, it is yummy. So those few things.
Well, thank you for that introduction to her, and thank you for carrying that part of her in you. And thank you for sharing her with us, and thank you for sharing your journey and
Thank you
your
so much.
insights. And
Thank you
we
for
wish
having me
you,
over.
yeah. What would be your closing remarks?
Uh, so my closing remarks. I mean, I don't know if anybody who's watching this or not. I think, if at all, we can lend a hand, a helping hand to anybody who's a caregiver. I think
Yeah.
we should go ahead and do that. And this is something which, I came to you with an intention, and I'm still trying to really penetrate this thought. I come from my work background right now is into workplace well-being, and this is something which I really strongly feel for employers that they need to really take care of. So we talk about diversity and inclusion, and but it's really very gender based. So I still think that this one particular section of employees, of people working for them, for organizations, should be really considered, and something needs to be really done for them. So that's something which I am really trying very hard to penetrate with every conversation that I have with an HR leader. And look at this. Yeah, it is difficult. It takes time. People are not really serious, but I think that we'll get to that sooner or later.
Absolutely. No, I think thanks to COVID, I think uh, people who were invisible and unrecognized,
Yeah,
caregivers who were hidden behind homes. Now, each one of us is a caregiver, and each one of us is experiencing the isolation and the helplessness
right.
that sometimes caregivers experience. Um, we are at the end of our time for today, but I find that I have a little bit of a shared soul spirit with you. And thank you for your time.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you for indulging me. Thank you for having me
Uh,
over.
yeah, it was an absolute delight and also poignant. I feel I feel like I have resonance. I feel a little healed as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Helped me a lot to open out, of course, as well. Thank you so much.
Have a very good evening, and thank you to all who joined and those who may watch this later.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Good day. Bye.